Tyler City Council is considering a major shift in how it finances public safety equipment. KLTV7's Emma Burns explains.
As the cost of emergency response vehicles soar, the City of Tyler City Manager Edward Broussard says they're turning to other options to fund the backbone of the city.
Only a few years ago, of a fire engine being about $600,000 to now being $1 million apiece. And we're to a point now of having to look at different debt instruments.
To buy them, the city plans to use certificates of obligation, or COs. It's a type of debt repaid over time using property taxes. Now, unlike general bonds, COs do not require voter approval unless 5% of qualified voters petition for an election. If council moves forward, taxpayers will see a tax increase in fiscal year 2028.
We've done different debt instruments before in the past, especially revenue debt. This will be the first certificate of obligation, or CO, as sometimes referred to, that they will be considering.
The plan outlines $12.3 million to fund 5 new police vehicles, 6 new fire engines, and 2 ladder trucks. Fire Chief David Coble says the fleet is beyond rusty, with the oldest truck from 2009. And half of Tyler's frontline and reserve engines are past their lifespan.
All of the engines that we've replaced this engine with leak oil or some type of fluid. We're beyond what reserve status would be on at least 3 of our current engines.
Coble shares concerns if the funding isn't passed, the department will fall further behind. New fire trucks can take up to 3 years after purchase to be built and delivered.
We asked for vehicles last year. We were denied based on the economics of the budget. And so this year, I appreciate them coming up with another way.
Broussard says they traditionally try to pay with cash, but strapped operating budgets mean tax-backed debt is now the quickest road to reliable responders. Emma Burns, KLTV 7 News.
The first public hearing for the proposed budget is August 26th. The council will hold a second hearing and a final vote on September 9th.